Ready to light that fire by doing the things that make you come alive? Welcome to Health Raisers, a podcast for wise women. I'm your host, Dr. Nadine. I left a soul-crushing medical career full of bad news and evolved into a joyful health integration coach, helping hundreds of women find their healthy. You're more than your dress size. Stop putting up with toxic relationships, swallowing your true emotions, and sacrificing your mental health. Stop using your body as a battlefield. You're always giving. You deserve to put yourself first, not just for your sake, but for those you love. Wise women, let's make ourselves a priority right now. It's time to raise some health together. Hello, wise women. Today, my guest is Rebecca Gardne Riley. She is the founder of Mobility Wise. She's been a dedicated physical therapist with over 20 years of experience helping adults to stay active and pain-free as they age. So, of course, she was a wonderful match for this podcast. Rebecca thrives in her practice, which is full-time, on building one-on-one connections, problem-solving in clients' environments, so it's individualized, and as a bonus, meeting their pets along the way. I love that. Welcome, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So to begin our discussion, you mentioned growing up with a father who faced profound challenges while remaining active. Can you share with us how his example inspired and shaped who you are and your work today?
Sure. Yes. My dad had a life-altering injury when he was 41 years old. Before that, he was always very, very physically active. He served in the Peace Corps and in the Air Force. He played handball and racquetball. He owned a business. He was just always on the go, always on the move. And then his injury was he was electrocuted. He was helping a friend trim some limbs of a tree in 1983, and he was paralyzed from the chest level down. So his injury changed his life drastically. He went from being independent, incredibly active, to being in a hospital many hours away from our home for months, and then dependent on a wheelchair for the rest of his life. So his injury, it taught me that even with this significant challenge, like complete paralysis, you still have to move, you still have to live. He clearly couldn't do things as he did before, but he shifted his expectations. He found new ways to keep and build his upper extremity strength. Had he chosen not to continue to be physically active, he likely would have had more medical problems and probably would not have lived as long as he did. And with his injury, even with his injury, he was very, very present in our lives. My sisters and I all played softball. He figured out ways that he could still catch our pitches and hit balls one-handed for us to field. He was more active with us than some fully able-bodied parents. And his example has shaped my life and my work, in that I don't take my mobility and health for granted. I appreciate the ease I currently have of my mobility, but I also know that could change at any moment. And I hope I would be able to shift and be as adaptable as he was if I were to face a major injury or a health crisis. And in my work as a physical therapist, it helps me to put emphasis on what my clients can do instead of what they can't.
Thank you for sharing that. That makes all the sense in the world as to your inspiration for the work you do and the empathy you show each and every client and the individual attention that you give each person, because each of us, we're very unique. I like the fact that you take into account the person's environment. And I'm sure it goes even beyond that, not just the physical environment, but the mental environment, what's important to them, what their priorities are, what they want to do. And I like this focus on what you can versus what you can't, because it's very easy for us to focus on deficiencies, deficits, and to make things up too. Like, I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that, because, we're still not doing a terribly great job. I think we're getting better, but there's a long way to go in terms of the story that we tell about aging, which is
Absolutely.
resisting it, with everything we can, whether it's resisting how we look, resisting the. I try not to buy these, but I was putting some lotion on my face the other day and I happened to look at the packaging and I hadn't noticed it before, but it said anti-aging. And it just made me feel so sad because why? Why does everything have to be, why does it have to be a fight?
Right.
Why can't it be with grace? And why can't we accept a newer narrative that takes into account an evolution, a body changing? I still have students in my yoga classes because I teach women. And I still have them occasionally before a yoga class starts. And I ask how everyone's doing and if there's something special they want to focus on. I will occasionally have the woman say, ha ha ha, with a little laugh, can we get rid of my belly fat? Is there any way to get rid of my jiggling arms? It never fails to make me feel sad. It's so sad. I mean, you're not a teenager. You don't have the same physiology. My 25-year-old daughter, my 27-year-old daughter, and I we just don't have the same. Our bodies are not the same, and they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, we have to accept that things change. And instead of focusing on all the negative aspects, we have to have the grace to find the good things and things. We're not going to do the same activities in our 70s as we did in our 20s. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we have to be appreciative of what we can do and make changes smartly. Like, being intentional and being smart with what our bodies can do and being appreciative of that.
Bringing you Health Raisers is possible because of these incredible sponsors. Feeling the need for a little pampering? Do you want an escape from the hustle and bustle of daily life? Mac Salon and Day Spa is your destination for relaxation and rejuvenation in Southwest Michigan. Get ready for a retreat in the woods. Mac offers comprehensive services tailored to your needs, including massage, facials, nails, waxing, and hair treatments, ensuring you feel refreshed and beautiful. Whether you're preparing for a special occasion or simply treating yourself, the experts at MAC are committed to helping you look and feel your best. Their commitment to wellness isn't just about beauty. It's about balance, confidence, and feeling amazing in your skin. Visit them today and discover why they're Southwest Michigan's premier choice for all your beauty needs. Looking for some time away from the chaos of everyday life? Step into the beauty of Fernwood Botanical Garden, where nature, peace, and renewal come together. Nestled along the scenic St. Joseph River Valley, in between Niles and Buchanan, Fernwood's 105 acres of lush gardens, quiet trails, and serene woodlands offer a sanctuary for replenishing your soul. Wander through vibrant landscapes, listen to the melodies of birds, and connect with nature at your own pace. Indoors, you'll find an inspiring art gallery, a lush fern conservatory, and a welcoming cafe, perfect for reflection and relaxation. At Fernwood, there's always something to discover, from engaging classes and special events to charming, verdant venues for your own gatherings. It's more than a destination, it's a feeling, a place to breathe, learn, and grow. Plan your visit today. Explore, discover, connect. In the mood for coffee, tea,
Yummy pastries or cool swag? My friends at Infusco have got you covered. Infusco Coffee Roasters is a cozy neighborhood coffee joint in Sawyer and St. Joseph, Michigan. Infusco stands for a healthy community. They craft irresistible seasonal drinks, sourcing local artisans' products. The flavors shine from quality ingredients, and their beans are roasted on site. They do not hide behind tons of sugar. Every time I go, I'm greeted by my name with a smile. Bad service is just non-existent. It feels like stepping into a friend's living room. They keep it personal. Old school, eclectic coffee mugs on the wall, fun merch, including stickers designed by artists, t-shirts, and sweatshirts. It's the perfect place to get to know your neighbors and chat with tourists. You will always find people deep in conversation. Special events keep it fresh. Community. Health, the heart of Sawyer. That's Infusco. I hope to meet you there.
Tell me a little bit more about your father finding ways to still be active and present for you, because being physical was so important to him and you have this major shift, but the adaptability of finding ways to still be active and participate with his children. How did he do that?
It didn't happen overnight. Initially he used like a sliding board for transfers. He eventually got to a point where he didn't need a sliding board. He was just able, to figure out different ways to move. And he was very, very independent. He was able to get in the car. He could drive. He had the specialized thing to drive. So he was still very independent. And he got different equipment to help him like keep and build his upper body strength, because he knew how critical it was for him to be able to be independent and transfer himself independently. We had, in the house I grew up in, there was like a pretty significant slope in the backyard. And every morning, every evening, he would go down and he'd build himself back up. He'd go down, he'd build himself. So just things to keep his strength and his endurance and his independence. He eventually found what worked for him. And it did. It changed drastically with his injury. And it changed as he aged too, because he did start to have a little bit of trouble with his shoulders because he was using his shoulders so heavily throughout his life. But he accepted his challenges. He accepted aging, and he just found ways to shift.
And the tools, that's so important. He accepted help from the tools. That's why I use props in my classes, because I feel like they're good reminders to allow ourselves the grace to get help. So I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Okay, what about lessons you learned from your mother as a caregiver? I'm sure that was extremely challenging. And how has that influenced you, and maybe how you interact with your clients as well?
Yeah, it is. My mom is the epitome of kindness and patience. Seems a little more commonplace now, but even when we were growing up, my sisters and I in the 70s and the 80s, she always told us, we never know what someone else is going through, and we never know what we're going to face. She's always grateful for everything good in her life, and she doesn't dwell on the bad things. She was a fantastic caregiver to my, not even just my dad, but her mom and my dad's mom as well. She took care of everybody. And then, not to say she didn't have difficult times or frustrating days, but she always kept her composure, and she was never discourteous to anyone. And those are the values that I really try to embody, that I grew up with, seeing her.
So you were a physical therapist, and I'm sure you were working as part of a group. You've done manual therapy, fitness training, but in 2024, you decided to pivot and leave the safety net and go out on your own. How did you do that? And what gave you the confidence to do that?
Well, I still struggle with the confidence of being on my own full time. I think I'll always have a little bit of that, but the support and encouragement from my husband and my family is really what gave me the strength to do it. And the most rewarding part has been it's really relieved my burnout. working in a clinic for 19 years, seeing 15 patients back to back, having little to no time for documentation and at times even eating lunch, just really, really wore on me. I'm also pretty introverted, so dealing with all my patients, interacting with the other therapists, their patients, multiple support staff, doctors, nurses, etc. It just left me completely depleted by the end of the day. So the ability to control my schedule and who I see, it makes me more focused and present with my clients. And it's just overall better for my health as well.
There's a lot of emotional labor, not just physical, but emotional, mental labor that goes into these caregiving type roles. And I appreciate in what you said. I mean, and I'm an introvert too, so completely get it. I understand that understanding who you are and knowing what your needs are, and knowing what's good for you, what's not so good for you, and wanting to adapt to that. Did you also learn that from your mom? I'm thinking about her. You mentioned she had difficult days, of course, but for the most part, it sounds like she showed a lot of grace, a lot of patience, a lot of compassion. What about for herself? How did she take care of herself?
I would say she did not do a good job of taking care of herself because she always put everybody else first. She still does to this day. She would do anything for anybody. And that's something that I think I've kind of come to a little bit more on my own, realizing we can't do everything and knowing when I need to take a break. So I wish for her, she could have done that a little bit better because I think that she did take on a lot. She had 3 young girls and, her husband who wasn't able to do the things that he was able to do. So she had a lot on her plate. And I think it was also just kind of the 70s and 80s. I don't think we took care of ourselves that as much as we do now. I think self-care is more important. And it was more recognized now, in the 80s, like she wouldn't have just taken time to go get herself a massage. But that's something I do now that I find very helpful. And she just didn't have the opportunity to take care of herself. And I don't think she ever really learned that, unfortunately.
Even later when maybe her responsibilities diminished?
It's funny. I mean, she's a very giving person. And she came to visit me last summer and I took her shopping, and it was probably the first time in 30 years she'd bought herself anything new. We got her new jeans and and I could tell she felt a little uncomfortable about it, but it was just like, you deserve this. She's deserved it for a long time. But it's hard. It's just hard for her to take that step. She needs somebody to, tell her, okay. It's time to get you something new. And it does not have to be from a garage sale or when she bought herself new stuff, it was always secondhand. She grew up very, very poor. And so I think it was always hard for her to take advantage of luxuries.
Okay. But something you said, you taking her out shopping, we're not totally independent. We are interdependent. And sometimes it does take someone who really cares about you to help you get out of your comfort zone and to help you give yourself permission to do something that's just for you. Okay, let's shift back to your clients. The value of one-on-one time with your clients, you've talked about that. You've shared how important that is to you. Can you share with us an example or two of how that approach has allowed you to make really meaningful changes or impacts on a person's life? And how has that been different? So this is the second part of the question. How has that been different from what you may not have been able to do in your previous work?
Sure. So, I mean, seeing people in their actual environments is so beneficial on so many levels. While working in a clinic, I would try to problem solve by having them take pictures or videos and then try to simulate their environment in the clinic.
Mm.
But, life gets busy and oftentimes, they would forget. It might take them a week or more to do it. And then maybe even more time before they came back to see me. Or I might make a suggestion for them to try. And then again, sometimes they would forget. They couldn't remember exactly how to do something a little bit differently. So I found it's so much easier working with people in their actual environments. And we typically get to a solution much faster. Whether it's rearranging furniture or getting out of bed a different way, we can try multiple things to find the right solution. And the beauty of it is often it can be done in one session and not take multiple sessions or multiple weeks to figure out what the best solution is.
Okay. Because you're immersed in the person's environment. It's very practical, and they don't have to try to remember something in a separate office or place and then go back and try to recreate. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about the kinesthetic experience of actually being in your place, in your kitchen or in your family room, and actually learning how to do certain things in that particular place. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So can you share some specific, maybe just a couple of particular examples so we can kind of make this a little bit more vivid and bring it to life?
Sure. I had a client who had a hip replacement, and he was having a lot of pain, getting in and out of bed. And so we just had to kind of shift. And, for a while he slept on the other side of the bed because it was easier for the leg that he had surgery on to get out the other side. And sometimes it's something so simple like that, but you just he didn't realize that, he thought it would just be the same from the side of the bed to the next, but it's a whole different angle. You're moving completely differently. And with something like a hip replacement, it can be more stressful getting in one way versus the other. So it's just little things like that. I also had a client who had dementia, some pretty advanced dementia. He was still very safe on mowing the lawn, and that was all he ever wanted to do, was mow the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to put the lawnmower the way that he always had, and it was kind of blocked. So he would have struggle getting off of it. And so we just set up a sign and cones and then it was clear where he goes. And then he was able to get off of it safely. Without that, he was at risk to fall because he was trying to do it the same way that he'd always done it. And it just wasn't working. So with his daughter's help and with her, saying, okay, this is where we park it, he was able to do it and not be at risk to fall as he was getting off of the lawnmower.
That's lovely. Okay, so that to me sounds like adaptability. And because we can't possibly think of every single scenario when we're doing things that we take for granted. But it sounds like what you're describing as, well, I've always been doing it this way. And so it's hard for me to try to make the shift to, even if it might be a very simple thing without someone else's help. So the aging process then often brings about this dread, that, it's going to be harder for me to stay active. What about, and it's going to, not only is it going to be harder for me to stay active, but I'm going to be in more pain. I expect to be weaker. I'm expecting all these narratives, right? These aging narratives. So what would you say, given your experience with so many clients over the years, what's your advice for people who want to stay active and reduce their pain as they age?
Sure. I mean, I tell people all the time, I don't care what exercise you do, but you have to find something one, that you enjoy, and two, that's good for your body. What's good for one person could be terrible for another person. So we have to stop with the no pain, no gain mentality.
I hate that too.
I know, it's just not.
It doesn't make any sense.
No. And so the key, I would say, is knowing your body. We have to pay attention to what feels good and what doesn't. And we also have to accept that it's going to change at different points of our lives. And we need to be okay with it. We need to be okay with shifting and finding different solutions as things change. I'm somebody, I think everybody needs to be doing some stretching every day. And I don't think that you have to just take 30 minutes out of your day to do it. I take advantage of working stretching into my daily activities.
Mm-hmm.
I get odd looks sometimes from people when I'm stretching while I'm waiting in line or at the airport. But if we watch even like our dogs and cats, like most of them stretch every time they get up or change positions.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather people be doing a little bit of stretching like all throughout your day instead of taking 30 minutes once a day to do all the stretches. We need to keep it more fluid. And I find too that people are more compliant when you just fit it through your day. If somebody thinks like, oh, I have to take 30 minutes out of my day to go stretch, they're usually not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can get it to, get people to incorporate these things into their daily activities. I think it's just much more successful with that. Then also, it's also, sometimes I have people tell me, oh, I used to have great balance. And now all of a sudden I just have terrible balance. And we have to go through explaining, well, that didn't happen overnight. Everyone's balance, declines as we age, but it's subtle and it's slow. And so we often don't notice it until all of a sudden we can't do something. If you're not working on it, it will decline. But if you work on it, you can maintain and even improve it. So, for example, I have like an automated toothbrush every 30 seconds. It's 4 30-second things to brush the 4 quadrants of your mouth. So I will stand on one leg and just stand on one leg, balance on one leg. And then once the 30 seconds is up, I switch to the other leg and then I switch back. So it is, if we can find those things that we can do, those little things that we can do, so it doesn't feel like such a chore. And it doesn't feel like, oh, I don't have time to do it. If we can just fit those things into our day, I think people will just be more successful with their health and their mobility. Balance is a huge problem as we age. People fall and break something, and then it can just be a downward spiral. So we have to stay active. We have to do these things that we know are good for our bodies, but we have to figure out how we can do them in a way that will be consistent with it and do it. I also have, some clients who are very fearful of getting up and down from the ground.
Yes.
And it is, if you're only getting up and down from like a standard chair or a couch, you're going to lose that strength and those lower ranges that are required to get up from the floor. And then it's like, once that fear or even just the inability to do it sets in, it can be really, really difficult to be confident that you can to do it on your own. So I think you have to find the right therapist, trainer, or coach to figure out the best way to do whatever the task might be, and know the best way to strengthen in various ranges is the key to being able to be successful at those things. Because I have a lady right now who, I think she's 87 or 88. She can get up and down off the ground better than some 50-year-olds that I know. She knows she has to continue. If she wants to be able to do it, she knows she has to continue to do it and work on it. And, with changes like that, we also have to be realistic in that these changes are not going to happen overnight. If you haven't gotten up from the ground in a year and haven't been able to balance on one leg for some time, it's going to take time and consistency to build it up. But you can make those changes with the right approach and the right mindset.
Okay. So what I'll run into sometimes is, we'll go back to the word pain, where there's a fear because something is going to be painful to do versus it's uncomfortable because it's challenging. So it's okay. A specific example, I have been teaching yoga now for over a decade, and occasionally, I have a new person come into class, and the second time they come back, they're a little irritated, actually. Like, I was sore when I went home. It took 2 days for the soreness to go away. It never ceases to amaze me because it's like, well, It was a new experience for you, not used to moving in this way. It challenged you. So you are going to be sore and uncomfortable. Did it hurt? But then there's also another kind of like layer to that where sometimes there is I don't want to even be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to describe any discomfort as pain. And no, I won't do it. How do you deal with that with your clients?
So I tell my clients, soreness is not a bad thing. That means that we're making changes. Soreness that, if we do a new activity and you're sore for 24 or 48 hours, I think that's completely appropriate. If it's more than that, if it's lasting, 3 days, okay, maybe it was a little bit too much. And then we just need to tweak and find what we need to adjust. But I think soreness is nothing to be scared of. I think it's to be expected if you're wanting to see change.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to monitor how it's affecting the person. I also tell people with pain, I'm okay if somebody has like some discomfort, aching, soreness. Those are okay. Those aren't bad signs of pain. I never want people to push through sharp shooting, burning sensations. That is not the pain that we work through. And I also kind of try to use the scale. I know people hate the 0 to 10 scale, but if you're sore at like a 4 while you're doing something, like a 4 out of 10, with 0 being nothing and 10 being the worst, that's okay. If you're having soreness that's like a 7, 8, okay, then we need to scale back. We need to look at what we're doing and find a more appropriate way to do it. So soreness, aching, I have no problems with that as long as it stays at an appropriate level, as long as it's not outrageous.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your other offerings: dry needling, wellness, fitness training, equipment fitting education. Can you tell us a little bit more about those different aspects of your offerings?
Sure. I started incorporating dry needling into my practice about 2 years ago. I was still working at the hospital clinic, and I had a couple colleagues who had done the coursework, and they were getting people better faster, and they were seeing really good benefits of it. So,
is it acupuncture?
It's different. So it's the same kind of needle as acupuncture. The difference with trigger point dry needling is we find a top band or a trigger point. We insert the needle. In acupuncture, they usually just kind of leave the needle in there. Mm-hmm. And with trigger point dry needling, we manipulate the needle. So we don't just tap it in and leave it. We actually, depending on the muscle, there's different lengths, but you actually manipulate the needle into the muscle. And oftentimes you will get like a spinal reflex called a local twitch response, and that's a good sign that the muscle is responding to the treatment. So when you have tightness or an injured muscle or overused muscle, the muscle is not getting like the blood flow, oxygen, and nutrients that it needs to be able to go back to its resting normal state. So as a result, the muscle just kind of stays more tense. I'm sure we've all had muscles that just kind of feel tight and won't let go.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with the dry needling, especially when you get that twitch response, it helps to bring blood supply back to the area and release the tension in the tissue. It's not a modality for everyone. There is a level of pain and discomfort that goes along with it. Mm-hmm. Some people love it. Some people hate it. When you go through the coursework, it's like 3 days, and basically we're dry needling each other all day. Like we would never do that in a clinic practice because it's too much. It's a lot. But the pain and discomfort is usually very short-lived. And again, soreness is to be expected. You should be sore as we're trying to get that muscle to change. But typically after needling, like people have less pain and sometimes even improved range of motion. So it can be very beneficial, but it's not comfortable. So some people are like, nope, I do not want that kind of discomfort. And the beauty about it too is it is so fast. So like if we put a needle in and you don't like it, it's out instantly. So it's not something that is prolonged. Most people, once you kind of do it a little bit, it's like, okay, it's uncomfortable. It's not, I wouldn't love to be feeling like this all day, but if it's going to help, they can get through a minute or
Mm-hmm.
two of the dry needling and then hopefully get the benefits of it.
So it is under 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What about your wellness fitness training?
So I work with clients on a wellness basis. This is clients who don't necessarily need, there's not a medical necessity for physical therapy, but they want to improve, their overall fitness. My clients, sometimes have a, lengthy medical background, whether it be like prior injuries, prior surgeries. And so they appreciate having somebody with a medical background. So I can kind of tailor their program with those things in mind.
Okay. Equipment fitting and education, is this also in the home and kind of very specific to the individual? And what does that mean?
Correct. Yes. So whether it's adjusting like a cane or a walker or figuring out how to use a brace, anything that they have in their home that they kind of need a little bit of extra support with.
Okay. So really is quite the individual tailoring. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can see your kitty in the background. Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned meeting clients' pets as a bonus for your work. How have you thought that pets may play a positive role in clients' mental, emotional, and physical well-being? I know my dogs do.
Right. Yeah. I think they play a huge role. Most people want to be active with their pets, whether it's walking their dog, throwing the ball, playing with the cat toy. It brings us joy to see them running, jumping, playing fetch, or even like tug of war. So, I love all animals. So I love the fact that I would only get to see pictures sometimes of my clients when I worked in the hospital, and now I get to pet them and play with them and just incorporate them sometimes into our sessions. So that's fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then, I also believe that some pets kind of innately know when we're in pain. Like years ago, a friend of mine, she had some dental work done, and there was nothing majorly outward indication that she was in pain or injured. But she laid down in bed to rest, and her dog had never done it before, but he came and laid right next to her head on the side that she had the dental work done. And what was even more interesting is that once she recovered, he never did it again. But when she was recovering, he was right there. So I think some animals they just kind of innately know, what we're going through at times. I know, like too, for myself and my cat, if I'm upset about something, if I'm having, I feel like my heart's racing, I can pick her up, lie down, put her on my chest, and her purring just brings me just a sense of calm. Just, there's just something very healing, I think, about our pets.
Totally agree. Okay, so for anyone who's listening, who's struggling with chronic pain or mobility issues, what is the tiniest step so that we get rid of the overwhelm? What would you recommend to get a client started to moving towards a more active life?
So I would say you've got to start where you are, even if it doesn't feel like much. We've got to be able to start with the little things and listen to our bodies. I encourage people, you don't have to go through a full range of motion. Keep a comfortable range of motion. You don't have to lift your arm over your head as far as you can go. Start where you start, work into comfortable ranges, and just gradually build on that. I think it's also important to, be realistic with goals. Know that change and progress comes gradually. And it does. It requires consistency and it requires patience.
Wonderful advice. Is there anything else that we might have left out of the conversation that might inspire some of our listeners?
I think it's just really, we can't keep the mentality of no pain, no gain. And it's our responsibility to know what's good for our bodies. We have to listen. Our bodies give us cues, and if you're just not listening, ignoring, and pushing through pain, you've got to find a way to shift. You've got to find a way to do something different, not just keep doing the same thing that you've always been doing, but be willing to, shift and change and try new things and, just be adaptable.
One thing that did occur to me is not just adaptability, but on the other side of that is consistency. So what would you say? Yeah, and I'm sure, I have no doubt you've heard these stories, and plenty of us who've done this. You go to physical therapy for an injury, you do it for the few weeks, and then you have the bands at home or whatever, and you never do it again. What would you say then about consistency?
You have to know, and you have to be able to fit in whatever it is that you need to do. Because we all need to be doing stretching every day. We all need to be doing some kind of cardio and strength training a few times a week. And it does take commitment. It does take commitment to find the things that you enjoy and the time to do it. But that's why I think it's so convenient to, the little things like stretching and balance, like just fit those in throughout your day when you can. So then when you are doing a cardio thing, you can go take 15 minutes and go do that. Or you can take some time to do strength training. But I mean, if we want to be healthy as we age, we have to listen to our bodies, and we have to be consistent. There's no easy way to do that, but we have to know ourselves well enough and know our bodies well enough to know what's good for us and what's bad for us. And, just like anything else, we can't just eat whatever we want to eat all the time. There has to be some kind of balance with everything, with our physical, with our mental, with, we have to find ways to balance it all. And it's not easy, but if we want to, be healthy and active in our environments and our communities, it's important to find the things and find people who can figure out what's best.
I think it's okay too to play little tricks with yourself, because as you said so eloquently, I completely agree. It's our responsibility. We have to know what works for us. And it might even be something so simple as finding a class that doesn't use words that you might not like. Like if you don't want to go to a class where it's like resistance training, but maybe they've used different semantics like strong and healthy this for whatever might be appealing, not just the semantics, but maybe you're a person who needs to be in a group. You want to be with a lot of pals to do things. Maybe that doesn't matter to you. Maybe you are a person who likes being solo and likes to just go for the run, to immerse yourself in nature, for the walk. But I completely agree. It really has to be about no one else is responsible for your body. You're responsible for your life. And if you want to move around and be in your life as much as you would like and enjoy it and participate in it, well, it's up to us to tailor those things to what makes the most sense. I mean, for somebody, gardening, spending hours in a garden could be this is what's going to get my movement. This is what I like. Yeah. So I like the messages. I do. What is your personal definition of what it means to be healthy?
So I used to think that being healthy was just about eating right and being physically active. It took me way too long to even begin to understand what a big role mental health and mindset plays in our overall well-being. I read the book 10% Happier by Dan Harris, and that got me interested into meditation. So I try to do guided meditations every day, even if I only have like 1 minute to do it. And plenty of apps out there that you can look into. But even if it's just 1 minute, that is something. And before I started a meditation practice, I often ignored or kind of dissociated from anything that felt difficult or negative, with kind of like an out of sight, out of mind attitude. But I found that meditation, it makes me more present, and it decreases how often I might just go on autopilot or ignore things. It's also helped me just kind of slow down and appreciate, the good things in my life more often than I used to. We live in this beautiful area of Southwest Michigan. And I'm so appreciative of the beauty where we live, being outdoors, being close to the lake. It can really recharge me in a way that's just it's hard to explain. But I do find when I haven't taken that time to appreciate, enjoy being outdoors, I'm usually not in as good of a mood as I am when I take time to kind of be present in the environment and being in nature. Being in nature just does a lot for me.
Thank you so very much for being here, Rebecca. I've really enjoyed our chat. I learned a lot, and I have no doubt that the listeners will as well. How can we find you?
So my website is www.mobilitywise.net. Email is rebecca@mobilitywise.net. And then you can also either call or text me, and that number is 269-205-3669.
Thank you. Take care of yourselves, ladies.
Thank you.
Wise women, move from last place to first place in your life. Stop using your body as a battlefield. Let's raise health together with a customized health plan just for you. Contact me at npkhealthintegration.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.